Two words just went viral across the internet. This works. That's Mel Gibson with Joe Rogan talking about three friends who had stage 4 cancer that went into remission. Rogan brings up methylene blue and says it has profound effects on mitochondria. Gibson leans in and says the stuff works, man, but here's the problem. They never really explain why. Because when you dig into the science behind what they're taking and what they're talking about, it goes a lot deeper and a whole lot more controversial, but we're talking about a light-activated process that generates a burst of oxidative stress powerful enough to destroy cells. This is the same mechanism used in research showing tumor reduction in preclinical studies and the same mechanism used to kill parasites. So the question is, what did they miss? Well, Jonathan Otto is back to break it all down. Jonathan, let's just roll the clip and hear him firsthand.
I'll tell you a good story.
Okay.
I have three friends. All three of them had stage 4 cancer. All three of them don't have cancer right now at all. And they had some serious stuff going on.
And what did they take?
Jesus. They took some, what you've heard they've taken.
Ivermectin.
Fenbendazole.
Fenbendazole, yeah.
That's
yeah, I'm hearing that a lot.
They drank hydrochloride something or other.
There's studies on that now where people have proven that
people
they've
are drinking methylene blue and stuff like that.
Yeah, methylene blue, which was a fabric dye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a textile dye. And now they find out it has profound effects on your mitochondria.
Yep.
Yeah.
This stuff works, man.
There's a lot of stuff that does work, which is very strange because, again, it's profit. When you hear about things that are demonized and that turn out to be effective, you always wonder, well, what is going on here? How is our medical institutions, how have they failed us so that things that do cure you are not promoted because they're not profitable?
Not profitable.
I'll tell you.
I mean, that says it right there, Jonathan. I mean, this is one of my favorite clips. I love Mel Gibson. I'm a huge fan, and not just because of Lethal Weapon, but just because he's unfiltered, and he just says what he says. Now, you watch the clip, and Gibson, you heard him say, three friends, stage 4 cancer, went into remission. Rogan says the methylene blue. I take the methylene blue because you advised me to with the red light therapy every day. So what was your reaction to that clip, and what did they leave out?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the hesitancy, and I think we talked about it last time, this hesitancy that he has, because, should I say this? Is it going to be around the station?
Yeah.
Versus like, yeah, sure, here's what they did. And so then it brings up a whole new conversation that, firstly, is the answer to cancer about some kind of big funding that's going on, like the war against cancer and some elite doctor, or is that actually a conversation that you're not getting into, which is then, in this case, simple modalities and just somebody's unwillingness to tell you what it is. And it's this simple. And then, look, if there is a God...
Well, hang on a second. I think I have to say that I think there are a lot of doctors that are just not educated. They've never been educated, and it's on purpose.
Yeah. Yes. And then, but then notice that, then what about those that do know? Notice Mel Gibson, you just said, I love him, he's unhinged, he says what he thinks. Well, he didn't, if Joe didn't probe him, would he have said? Would he have just left it at that? Like, just because it's like, okay, you pushed me, fine. I'm going to put my neck out on the chopping block, Braveheart style. Okay, just
Braveheart style. Well, I mean, just looking at his own body language, he's like, should I even say this? I mean, he's like I just love watching the animation, you know.
Yeah, he's throwing his hands around.
He's like, what should I do here? Oh, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, yeah, look at the face. He's like, I got it right here. This is the answer, you know?
Yeah, exactly. What you're about to hear might just change your life and your family's life and give you the ability to have your grandparents that see grandchildren and children that don't die before their 5th birthday, and I've seen that too much. And so, like, this is an important conversation. So now what was this that he was talking about? He didn't say that parasites are driving cancer, but he gave an example of the fact that he had 3 friends, and so it's anecdotal, but let's have a look at clinical data for what is happening with what is called antimicrobial photodynamic therapy, which is killing the parasites, which people are understanding, ivermectin, fenbendazole. And I have talked to some of the world's best doctors. I remember Gary Brecker looping me in with Dr. Dan Rubin on a case. It was a friend of his. And I remember Dan Rubin saying, yeah, that protocol that Mel Gibson talks about never works. But then, which is super interesting. Why did he say it never works clinically? And then people don't understand that there's missing things. Like, you can take ivermectin and fenbendazole, but do you have the cellular energy then to go and kill those parasites? And so that's why activating the methylene blue with red light matters. That's why this other thing that they were drinking, which I'll mention the site where people can find that, because that one is completely censored off the internet. The combination of those things is what worked. And so I think that this is a very important conversation.
So he said that works.
Yeah.
But didn't explain why. I mean, what's actually happening in the body when you combine the methylene blue with the red light?
Yeah, so yes, you said it before, like this sudden burst of energy, right? And so, like, plot twist is that, like, let's say you take one parasite.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it turns out that we're infected by parasites, which is the kind of, what they're not telling us. And these were some of the studies that were coming out here from PubMed, right? So here's a shocker to get us kind of whet our appetite. Here, okay, I think, yeah, you can still see that, right? You can see what I've got there?
No, looks like it went offline.
Yeah, cool. Oh, yeah, it just decided that now it's sharing, yeah?
Big Pharma's intervening in the interview.
Yeah, check it. Yeah, they're on us, right? So, so this one here, so 7 out of 10 studies showing remission of tumors. This is PubMed, right? So this isn't my basement study, which would still be interesting, but this is, and I've got those too. But here's
Screen share went off again.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this, and then like this, and this here was this 7 out of 10 clinical studies that were showing up to complete remission in tumors. And here, you look at these categories, right?
Wow.
Look at the malignant melanoma here. This was 99% tumor size reduction, minus 99, so not plus. Now look, near complete remission versus massive 3,060% in control, growth and control. So like right now I'm in Grok, and I want people to do this and use, this is where AI can help you. All right, so, but this is citing the PubMed studies. So, and now look at the breast cancer study here. This was 100% tumor reduction, complete remission ablation, about 1,100% in controls, meaning the group that didn't do the methylene blue red light combination had 1,100%. In this case, disclaimer here, these are animal studies, but just so you know, they're not treating animals because this is like for veterinarian purposes, even though that's awesome too. They're doing this for its direct correlation to humans.
Wow.
Yes, and then I'll show you the human studies are showing the same types of results. So this one here, 99.9 for colorectal, near complete ablation, 900% growth in controls. Now adenocarcinoma, so it's good for people who know different categories. This was minus 60% tumor size, 200% in controls, carcinoma, 73% drop, colorectal, 99% drop, 900% in controls. Okay, so, but then human case studies, this one here was an example. This was melanoma skin lesions, and this was intratumoral methylene blue injection. So so there is a clinical aspect, but we're gonna, if things go back,
Intratumoral, so they were actually injecting
it into the tumor.
Because the stuff I take is the pill.
Exactly. So a lot of people that are watching this right now are wanting to prevent, right? So then, and am I saying proof? There are clinical studies showing that yes, the photodynamic therapy works in preventing certain types of tumors in certain animals and that type of thing. They're not going to really do large-scale prevention studies in humans. There's just like there's not an incentive to do it. But the same thing that can reverse something will also turn things around. But I'll show you the clinical studies more in humans. But this was 5 out of 6 tumor sites after 5 sessions. 5 sessions. Okay, so in humans,
We'll define a session real quick.
well, it typically like 30 minutes, right? So then, and it will say like once we go over to okay, let's look
But
at the
okay, so
parameters
30
of the
minutes.
study.
How often between each session?
Okay, so and did it click me off now, or is it still on it?
It bounced out real quick. But
How
30
often
minutes.
in that case, what people do, like let's say for example in that one they would go, okay, tell me the parameters of the study, how long did they do it for, how many times in the week, or how did they space this out, so you could just have a baseline. And but generally speaking, the way that people are doing this is like 30 minutes a day, taking the methylene blue 30 minutes beforehand, and then doing 30 minutes.
That's
that
what
type of thing.
I take the methylene blue 30 minutes before I do the red light,
Yep.
and then a 30-minute session every other day.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and then these results after 6 sessions is what these studies are starting to show.
That particular one, yeah, absolutely. And then the other case studies with the animals, we can go look at they're short. They're typically like short periods of time, and because they don't have all the time in the world to kind of keep these studies running because there's a limited budget. So they're all catering to shorter periods of time, which is just mind blowing. But just so people can see the large people groups, and I've cited the Lancet Oncology study that had 413 people, and that was the Lancet. I'll show that.
I want to ask you because there's a 2023 systematic review that looked at 10 controlled studies using the method methylene blue activated by the red light. 7 out of 10 tumors
Yep.
shrank dramatically in animal models. Is that what you just walked us through?
Yeah. Yes, I did. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then this is an example here where you've got 413 men published in Lancet Oncology. And so this was 49%. Now, they were also doing chemo and radiation. And so some would argue that are on the natural side saying, well, these other therapies may have been counteractive as well. And then you'd say, okay, what was the control group that didn't take red light? And it was 13.5%. So that's 360% difference in favor of the red light group. And in this
Well, I know
case,
what chemo did to my mother. I mean, it destroyed her.
yeah, exactly. And then 6% of the patients needed to have their prostate removed in the red light group, 30% in the control group. The new therapy is the red light therapy. That's 500% difference. And if I was doing any study and I wasn't just trying to isolate one particular thing, I would put them on multiple things, right? So these people weren't taking ivermectin, fenbendazole. These people weren't drinking that thing that he calls hydroxine something, which people can learn about here, which I've got to obviously. Well, I've mentioned before, this is free, but you can buy it on Amazon, when $30, right, to last several months. This is where people can learn about that because that's what they were drinking. This is open source. They're just giving it to the world, and this is what they were drinking. Sorry for the graphic images, but these are the cases getting turned around in these people. This was I can't even say the name of it, but people can look it up. I've given you the site. This is deoxypedia.com. I can say that without a problem. And this PSA was over 1,100. It's completely benign. This was published here. And yes, so then what I'm saying is that once you look at a particular therapy, and this is the clinical study here. Once you look at a particular therapy and you say, okay, well, that's like 50% went into remission. How do I get that to 100? Well, what I would do is then I'd
Start
take
stacking.
another. Yes, exactly. I'd take this, I'd take that. And then I've shared PEMF, and PEMF is killing parasites as well. And so I'd go multiple angles to kill parasites, multiple angles to stop feeding the tumors through diet and taking out inflammatory foods, going gluten-free, even looking at plant-based for a period. A lot of the cancer docs are talking about that.
I got to tell you something because I was just recently over the weekend. I was at an event. It was an inaugural event for a new foundation that was just born, and I was so relieved because the purpose of the foundation is to bring attention to technology like red light, like hyperbaric chambers, PEMF, and one of the speakers there was explaining the PEMF mats and red lights and all these. I was like, dude, it is about time And the biggest problem that this foundation is trying to solve is getting this information into people's hands, but more importantly, getting it into people's homes and into their daily regimen.
Yeah.
And the problem is that there's no insurance companies will ever touch this stuff. There's no like insurance code that they could plug in to give people access to this, and that's probably one of the biggest problems. But the solution that you're presenting is through the link down below, because you actually can get this into people's homes. You have the solutions that you can bypass the insurance companies. Because I mean, look, folks, just click the link, you'll see it, and they even have the payment programs. Like, Jonathan, I'm looking into the hyperbaric chamber stuff because I think that's the next stack that I want to add to my regimen, along with the red light and the methylene blue and the PEMF.
Yeah. And Brian, by the way, if you don't mind dropping off the screen share so we can, no worries. Sorry, continue.
So what I want to do here is make sure people can find it. And I want this to be accessible, and that's what you're doing. But again, I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Yeah, sorry, I messed you up. Yeah, you mentioned the hyperbaric. You were thinking about stacking that in, and then making sure that people can access these therapies.
Right, because there's no insurance code for this.
Yeah.
There is a promo code. It's NNN25 and NNN30. It's below.
Yeah.
But this is not just some sales pitch. This is a solution that people need to find.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful that there's now an organization that is bringing this to people's attention.
Yeah.
And I'm going to connect you with these guys so that you can, if people can't afford these things, that this organization, they just raised a lot of money to help people get into these types of therapies. So, we got Mel Gibson talking about it. You're talking about it. New organizations are being birthed just to bring attention to it. And, Jonathan, you've been on this show a number of times. You're a big supporter of our work.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that the more we talk about this, the more it's going mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing this for, 6 months or more, and the results I'm seeing are tremendous. My wife's results are tremendous. I just want people to have access to it.
Yeah, I love that. I feel the same way, and if people really look into my work, my whole thing has been heavily in the humanitarian side. So with the success of my company, we're doing a lot in sub-Saharan Africa with famine, and because I've seen people starve. I've held people in my arms that were dying due to famine, and they died. So I've seen some of the most horrible things. And my point in saying all this is I then give my time and money. So I'm paying through those methods to get people better. And if I could, what I would do is I would donate everything, right? So obviously but it can't work like that. But it can work like that when we think about it in that way. Each of us all thinking, how do I be the change? Like when you get a device, you can open up your whole neighborhood to say, hey, do you have a loved one that has an issue? Like, you're welcome in my home. And I just did that with a child that was nonverbal like 2 days ago. And then it was like any time, like you come or here, like borrow this or here's a gift. Like if I knew that people couldn't afford it, and we were trying to find ways to make it work for people. So
that's the thing
what
too.
matters to me.
That's the thing, is that you can go to these red light spas, you can go to these hyperbaric spas, and you're going to pay out the ear for it. And it's not affordable for a lot of people. But when you break it down, when you just get a device like you've sent to us, and you gracefully donated a device for our friend who does have cancer, who's using this device right now, along with the methylene blue on a daily basis, when you break it all down, the cost per session based on actually having to go into a red light spa is nominal.
Yeah.
And it's like I could pay for this for my health. And you have the payment programs, which is great. Or you could pay out the ear, or you could try to find a foundation and then fill out a form and see if you can get them to donate for these services. It's like there's so many different ways to do it, but I think having it in your home beats everything.
Yeah. No, I love what you're saying, Gary. Like HSA, so what people can do as well with their insurance, they actually can use this. There's a certain amount each year that you can
Oh, really?
use. Yeah. So, and we've helped people with this before. So you could reach out to my team, right? So you go to our, like, just myredlight.com and go contact, right? Call or email us, and then just say, hey, help me use my HSA, my insurance, to push this over so that I can use this to activate a device. And I'll give you an idea, right? So this, like my grandma on my wife's side, right? She's 87. This is what I sent her home with after cracking her skull. Not her skull, her head. Thankfully, she didn't break the skull, but 16 stitches. Then this is what I said, hey, okay, Abuela, use this. And then she ended up, like, she'd been on a thyroid medication for decades. She doesn't need to take a thyroid medication anymore. She's off that. As like right now, she's just wanting the doctor to say, yeah, you can get off that. But she doesn't need it, right? Her markers are showing that she's producing thyroid hormones. The reason why I'm bringing this up is that she regained her cognitive ability. She moved back into the home that my wife and I built for her, and it was off something that's what she would have spent that year on a thyroid medication, which in this case, on discount, it was $1,200. $100 a month is what it's going to cost for most people on their thyroid medication. So over the next 10 years, which if I get her to the same age as my grandma, which is 98, I'm not saying God does that, but I just supported. But then over the next 10 years, that'll be $12,000 that she doesn't have to spend. So what did she do? She saved $11,000. But yes, I gave this to my grandma, just for the record. And look,
you're a good grandson. I mean, I wish that I wish my mother had access to this stuff. But that's why we have. We got to fight for the ones we love, and I want to see my viewers have access to this. Especially the last interview we did. Everybody was asking, how do I get the book? How do I get the book?
Yeah.
What can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I'll be on a couple of big shows next week. Lex Friedman, I'll be talking about it, like this one here, right? So we're just doing a final proof on one of the editions. So we're looking at the next 2 weeks or so, and there'll be a pre-release. And then one of the things we're doing is, which I may have this ready by next week, where people could text us and we send the first 3 chapters as a gift, so that people could just read the first 3 chapters. We try to condense the most important information in those first three chapters, so we'd give part of it away as a gift. And then and then just so you know, I keep giving all these completely free resources that people can go to, like the one I mentioned, DeoxyTube. So we're not everything is about this and that, but you put a book out, we need it to get in the public domain, we need it to be backed by people so that we can fund the work of getting it into the world, right? So people just compute that. So yes, this is about giving back, and that's why these things all come together. And one of the things as well, while we're rolling on this, Gary, I would love to blow the whistle on why parasites are one of the biggest driving factors.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at this, right, look at the research that's coming up on parasites and how many people are infected. So when people are watching this right now, what do you think they think, Gary? You think that they think that they don't have parasites? Probably, right? It's what did I? It's a big
conversation. It's a big conversation that's being had right now.
Yes, exactly.
Parasite cleanse. Exactly,
parasite cleansing, and then you'd only do one if you thought you had parasites. So how much of the world has parasites? And that's a big question, because this mechanism that they were using, this is why the big reveal here is of why this worked. One of the biggest reasons why it worked was because the methylene blue combo with red light is called antimicrobial photodynamic therapy. And this is what it's showing in many cases. This particular study was showing 100% success in some reports, right, on this leishmaniasis, which is a protozoan parasite, that the stack of those two factors, the methylene blue then proceeded, or then sequentially taking the red light thereafter, it was generating the reactive oxygen species up to 5-fold, like producing 5 times as much, and then they were going to cause apoptosis like death, which is including wiping out the cells that are kind of like, let's say if the body says this cell is so infected by these parasites that are disabling the mitochondrial function. So this one's ready to go, and we're just going to produce more. So don't worry, kind of thing. Like the body's really smart like that. It'll shut down old. That's called also the shutdown of old mitochondria, called mitogenesis. Mitophagy, the creation or spawning of new mitophagy, or sorry, mitogenesis, right? That's the creation of new. Your
Wait,
body's
Jonathan,
doing.
hang on, because when I it's so funny because I take the methylene blue, I get under the red light, and I'm like so passive about it. But what you're explaining about this is what's happening inside my body
Yeah.
as I'm just like laying there and enjoying the warmth of the light, but I'm having this dramatic, physical effect that I don't see. But
Yeah.
these studies, you're explaining exactly what's happening to me,
Yeah.
and I try to explain to Angie sometimes about like what happens, what you're doing, why the methylene blue, and I mean, in layman's terms, like it just makes it better, But here's the proof. Good
Yeah,
God.
exactly. Oh, thank you. And then what I tell people to do as well, if you want to know if you've got parasites, get 2 fingers and put them up to your neck here, and then just hold it and see if you can feel a beat. Yep. Okay. So if you feel a beat, if you feel a pulse, yeah, you got parasites. Okay. So
Oh, come on, stop it. Come on. I'm sitting here putting my fingers on my neck, and I'm waiting to feel the parasite, and you're like, yeah, it's just a heartbeat, dude.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you have a pulse, you have parasites. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't true. And what happens is that the more toxins that you accumulate, the more they can take over. And so then it's really, let's try to win the war to get rid of them completely. If you think about God creating humans like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, you think about, okay, well, I can't see a reason for why parasites would have to infect them. In the evolutionary model, they'd say, yeah, well, these are important, right? You want parasites, and they'll even intentionally infect people with parasites for chronic pain, and they'll actually work to take away some of the chronic pain, but it's just such a Faustian bargain. So my thing is like decrease them as much as possible, if not completely eliminate. And the reason why I'm saying this is we're talking about cancer, but any chronic condition, parasites should be a red flag. And this is what saved my wife from the chronic conditions that she had. Gary, I don't think I talked about this. She was crying herself to sleep from chronic pain. She had depression, anxiety, was on medication for both of those. And then as soon as we got rid of the parasites, which we didn't think or know that they were causing the issue, then she fell pregnant with our first son. And then now we're news, right, guys? You get to hear it here. We're on our 3rd child coming in August, our first baby girl, 2 boys, now a girl coming. And so thank you, brother. I know what the future then held for us because of what we knew, and that this was a key part of it.
Well, my wife's diverticulitis
Yep.
was completely resolved after our trip to NATO, and we've talked about this story before, but it's worth repeating because traditional medicine was just throwing antibiotics at her. She was having adverse reactions. We put her under the red light, and like within a couple days, it was like a new woman.
Wow.
And like, there's no other explanation because they kept her on these horrible antibiotics that were having massive side effects. And they weren't doing anything, only giving her more pain. And she went under that red light, dude, with the PMF, and I was like, God, I'm so thankful. I know she is too. Just thankful for you, Jonathan, and what you're doing. The parasite thing is the next level, though. I think we have to really determine that because when people hear parasites, they think fringe, but they're documented cases.
Yeah.
There are certain parasites classified as actually carcinogenic due to the chronic inflammation. So how strong is that connection to in the research?
Yeah, it is. There's no way to deny it. In some ways, like I don't want to scare people, or I don't have any need to like make people think of anything that is not actual or factual, because it only detours people from what really matters, right? So what we're seeing, like, people just have to do the math on this, right? Have a look at, and I'll show you some cases that we've seen, and they're issues that I had no idea how to resolve. Could you imagine, say, for example, I'll show you Natalia's story where she had 4 autoimmune conditions. She had 30 different specialists working on her over the time of the 5.5 years after she spent $200,000 with these 4 autoimmune conditions, and was left at the end of it with not only like, are you not better, but yes, you'll have to have both legs amputated. And I'll show you her case. But they're super intimidating, right? Do you think I really want to take on a case like that? And I'm not saying I'm a clinician. So the fact that she watched like an interview like this, or in a case she saw a documentary series I made called Autoimmune Secrets, because I flew out to her house and I saw that she'd printed out the transcript and she had it like an old tattered Bible. And once you see her case, it'll make sense, and you'll see it all real time. And these were autoimmune. You'll see a dramatic connection between autoimmune disease, like the studies that were done on lupus showed that you were 5 times more likely to get cancer. There's an Australian study, 5 times, and then like the same kind of things go for depression. If you have depression or anxiety, you're 4 or 5 times more likely to get dementia and Alzheimer's, which is a part of the dementia category. So have a look at what is draining the energy of the body that's creating deficiencies, right? So it was Linus Pauling that had 2 Nobel laureate prizes where they were unshared as well, where he said all disease can be traced back to mineral deficiency. So the next question to ask is, why am I deficient? What is draining and robbing my body? Look at these soil-transmitted helminths. This helminth therapy is what they give to people that have pain, and they like give them parasites. It's like, that's disgusting. There's a better way to get rid of pain, right? So 1.5 billion people, 24% of the world's population, with one of thousands of parasites that exist. And then this neglected tropical disease that's many parasitic. This one is 1.5 almost billion people. Wow. And then this blood fluke, that's 250. Malaria, 280. But now get ready for the worst one of all, Toxoplasma gondii. Okay, now what I'm about to tell you, Gary, is you're going to get sick to your stomach when I explain this. I don't know if I want to go there with some of this, but okay. This was roughly 2 to 4 billion people, up to half the world, with one parasite. And you know what the studies are showing? That it made people 7.13 times more likely to attempt unaliving themselves. Ugh. Okay, so did you ever, like, when you had a friend or a loved one or somebody, a friend of a friend that did that, did you ever think, or maybe it wasn't just the trauma and these things all kind of come together, but that they could have had a parasite that was driving that? And like the parasites, this particular parasite will cause mice to lose their fear of cats. Why would they do that? Well, they will want to transfer into the cat. So they're causing animals to feed themselves to other people. So they're incredibly destructive. And because they want to transfer hosts, they actually, in the clinical studies, showing that they're encouraging. Well, how do we even explain this, right?
Dude, I'll tell you how we explain this. It's like a horrible Hollywood movie where you get infected and then the virus takes over your body and then you can't think anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yep. And then sexual promiscuity, right? It's showing that people are more like the parasites are wanting to transfer into more people. Wow. And so
dude, that's crazy.
They're actually even manipulating the host to become more attractive to the opposite sex too. You won't believe me, but look at the studies, and what I'm saying is 100% being documented. But like, regardless whether you think of that or not, these are in people. And so then we just say, okay, what's the most effective way to get them out? And that's where and they are driving chronic conditions, and that's why you're seeing all these doctors, because it was this case that came out of Joe Tippins, right? And it was at MD Anderson. So he was sent home to die with cancer, and it was his friend that was a veterinarian that said, I have this weirdest thing that happens when the dogs have cancer. Well, we've got to deworm them as part of the protocol. You know how humans don't deworm, but animals do? Yeah, weird, right?
Yeah.
And then he says, but whenever we deworm them, they go into remission of cancer. So, what would it hurt to try it? So then he takes it, goes into remission of cancer. MD Anderson have to publish it. And then he gets 5,000 cases that do the same thing. Joe Tippins protocol. Look it up.
And then, bottom line here is, with the combination of the methylene blue and the red light, you can kill these parasites.
Yeah, exactly. And some of them, like, and this is what I get kind of, I get upset about this, because I see a lot of people struggling. And this case that I brought up, where this was Natalia, and I'll show like examples where you're taking something anti-parasitic, and she used a formula that we'd actually created, which is awesome. That so you can take natural herbs, or you can take ivermectin, fenbendazole. They're not natural completely, but they can be helpful, and you wouldn't take them like long term. But and then when I say I get upset about it, is that a lot of people don't win the war against the parasites. And to me, the big missing link is that red light combination with any anti-parasitic in combination with red light. Curcumin, berberine, these other photosensitizers, methylene blue being the one that was studied and proven in all those examples that I shared. And then, yes, that then becomes the most robust combination.
So, when you connect all this, oxidative stress, targeting cells, parasites, inflammation, autoimmune, immune disruption, it starts to raise big questions. So why isn't this mechanism more widely discussed? I mean, you're showing the studies.
Yeah. To me, it's like you look at each category, like autoimmune disease over 100 billion, cancer over 100 billion. These are, sorry, yeah, I'm saying the right numbers. I was, am I supposed to say million? No, like it's for one person, cancer care is between like 1 and 3 million. And then insurance, but like that whole thing is really
an industry.
It's a money laundering system, right? When you think about it, you just kind of put the dots together. So there's too much money being made off all these conditions and all the names that they're given. So for them to then kind of publish, the studies are there, but then the doctors aren't educated on then getting people on protocols, and then they end up turning to like an investigative journalist or another health researcher or another doctor that has done the research, but they didn't learn it in school. And then you end up seeing cases like the one that I'm showing here, where this was the first time I met her, so I didn't work with her. She got this Parapurify product that I had made, and then she said, "Yeah, is that showing the volume?"
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay. Yeah, check this out. Ready? This is so cool.
I have very, very severe autoimmune vasculitis, myositis, rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto, all combination, In the beginning, they told me, oh, no, any supplement would not help you. They told me that in 2 weeks, if I would not increase dramatically amount of chemo and steroids, they should cut my legs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad that I'm on your protocol. Because I just, without this, I would be in wheelchair. And now it is practically normal. My doctor in Cleveland Clinic, a very good doctor, he just couldn't believe it. And my inflammation level was so high that they even couldn't register it.
They were going to cut off your legs.
Yes, because they told me that if I would not increase dramatically, and I increased dramatically, it was very, very high level of chemo, very high level of steroids. And then I started to decrease, and when I decrease, I have flare up. Not anymore. With this protocol, I don't have no flare up.
To have found this, what does it mean to you? To have been able to get your life back, what does that mean to you personally?
Oh my God, it's just, before I was practically suicidal. Now I'm very happy and, just live my whole life in a different way.
Wow.
So thank you. I just have not enough words to tell the sentence. Sorry, I'm just crying.
Wow.
Why are you crying?
Just emotional, just emotional. Because I'm really, 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 so grateful. It's actually also it's if not my friend who actually helped you online, and she had cancer, and she followed your protocol, and she even didn't go to chemo. They told her that she will live only 3 months if she would not do chemo, but she's fine now.
Oh, Jonathan. Jonathan, man, this is it's powerful stuff, dude. I know that story all too well in my own family. Okay,
Yeah.
I know what happened when my mother was going through chemo. I know what happened when she went off. She started doing the alternative therapies, and on her deathbed, she passed eventually. But the doctor came up to us. Now she wasn't doing any of the things we're talking about now. She was doing other therapies, and the doctor said that if she had not done those additional therapies, we would have lost her a lot sooner. The doctor came up to our family and told us these specific things. They admitted it.
Wow.
So hearing this, it just reinforces, what I've known personally and what I've experienced physically. Wow.
Wow.
It's remarkable, Jonathan.
No, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for sharing your experience because, and if you don't mind just dropping that screen, that it's so real for people, and that's just life, and then it's a trauma, right? It's a real trauma, and that because it's so painful, most people won't talk about it, and then others don't know the way. But then people like you that are high activists that really care about a better future, a better world, doing everything you can to make the world better, you'll go back and revisit a trauma because what that means for you is that you can make the world different for somebody else. Like I pulled this tick this morning out of my son's head, right? And so then now, yeah, I know, right? How crazy and weird, right?
Well, she said it was because her friend saw a video you did. I mean, to think about the impact that we're having with the series of interviews we've been having you on for, the amount of lives that are being changed. We don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see what happens on the other side of this camera. My only feedback is what I see in the comments, and I see people reacting, and they're excited. They're like, I can't wait to do my red light today. Oh, thanks for reminding me. Thanks for uploading this video because now I remember, I got to go do my red light today. I read the comments, and, we got this Rogan clip here. For someone who saw this clip, they want to explore the technology. Where exactly do they start? And what should they understand before they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the best things that I'm seeing after all this, right, and all the cases that I couldn't solve over the last decade, right, people don't talk about that either, right? Natalia was an example of one where this turned around, and then when something flares up again or something happens, then you start realizing, okay, what am I missing? And this was, doing red light therapy and pulse electromagnetic field therapy, then to me, these then become the staples. And I even pulled up some data here on how, this was some of the data on the misdiagnosis of cancer as well. There's over 1.3 million cases of breast cancer being misdiagnosed, meaning that they didn't have it, right? So then that's a whole issue, because then people could even then go get the treatments and then die from the treatments when they never even had it, right? So this was some of the data on that, which was the false positives. But what I was showing on the pulsed electromagnetic field was showing that it's also working against the parasites, but it's doing so many other things. So the red light PEMF, whether you're doing one or the other or both are proven to activate new stem cells in the body, create new mitochondria to shut down disease cells, whether they're circulating tumor cells, whether they're senescent cells, whether you're just sick and tired because your cells are sick and tired. They need to actually get shut down and undergo apoptosis. New ones need to get created. So these processes are all proven through this combination or in isolation of PMF and red light. And so that, knowing where to get started, like what we did, for example, and talking about some of the things that we created to be able to give real solutions, because at the end of the day, you could learn about it, but what does that mean if you're not doing some of these therapies and these tools that actually work? With the PEMF, we have red and near infrared light in the PEMF mat that cause you to multiply that therapy and get a full body health regimen, and then combining in far infrared heat. And so get a device. In my humble opinion, is to get a device that is proven to work, and that you've seen other people that you care about or believe that they're telling you the truth. If you don't believe that Gary's telling you the truth, I would say just don't watch another video, because why would you watch somebody that's you think lies to you, right? So I would say if Gary's telling you the truth, then, and that worked for him, I generally tell people to go for the one that you've seen proven to work for somebody that you trust. You see what I mean? Because otherwise, do you know whether it's fake or real? And it's part of the reason why with our devices, and you can see the red light therapy devices behind me, when Dr. Tony Jimenez, who wrote basically the kind of shining recommendation that really in some ways was him getting some things that he maybe can't always say, but then he'd back what I'm saying to be able to say, this book isn't just recommended, it's essential, right? His words, and this is potentially life-saving. This research is groundbreaking. So what he does with his patients is gets them to get on our red light devices for their patient follow-up program. And normally you'd expect, okay, well then that's going to be that's a medical device then, so that's going to cost a lot of money. Well, no, we made it so it's affordable. Like I said, like with what my grandma would have spent on her thyroid medication, she saved $11,000 over the next 10 years. I know I can get her there, right? So just do the math on what things are costing you and what it could supplement. Could it get you off your thyroid medication? Could it get you off your pain medication? Could it get you off a supplement that's not really working for you, that you're paying, let's say $50 a month for? That's $600 for the year. That's $6,000 over the next 10 years. So it's way more expensive to do something, one, that's not working, and something that you have to keep doing. You have to keep paying for the massage therapist. You have to keep paying for this, right? So we've just made it possible to do things that are elite level therapies. Like the methylene blue, like Earth Harmony, I like theirs. It's got nano gold in it, $30, right? So you see what I'm saying? The math on that. I shared the other therapy, which was from the Deoxypedia site. That one is free. So, but red light is the only one that will activate the enzymes in the cells, like caspase 3 to this extent, and the cytochrome C oxidase, which is the enzyme that causes cells to breathe. Caspase 3 is the ones that causes programmed cell death. It's the only one that will do it to that extent, especially when it's paired with either a good diet or a combination of healthy tools like methylene blue or the curcumin, the berberine. They'll also help to accelerate what's called photodynamic therapy. So yeah, my big encouragement there, Gary, is for people to get good devices that work and then get them into the home. Like what we said before, you could get them on a payment plan. You're getting devices also that don't have any issues with EMFs, which we've shared this many times with the EMF meter. And so I've got the Wi-Fi signal in this room right now, which I need to turn off. I had a demonstration, but if I put it over my phone, it's going to max out and go way up. But if I get it over near the device here, you'll see it drop way off. And again, it's picking up the signal, so you can see that it's hit 0 and it's a constant signal. So it's and again, I can easily go turn that off, and you'll see this flat line at a 0, which I might do while you're talking. So it's super simple when you understand that what we do matters, right?
Let's talk real quick about these devices
Yep.
because I know you have limited time here.
Yep.
And because I've got the Pro, I think is what you sent me was the Pro Max, I believe
Yep.
is what you sent me. This is the one,
Yep.
the full
That's right.
body Pro Max. That's what I have. That's what you gifted our friend who is going through therapy right now. And then you also gifted the belt,
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
which
Yep.
is remarkable in its own right. Tell me about this little guy here. I'm kind of curious about the little guy.
So that's the size of that, right? So that's listed on there. I'll just say the numbers. Like that's the 100. The one that I picked up before that I showed regarding my grandma. That's the 200. I got Lance Armstrong using this right now,
Nice.
and the Undertaker, like the wrestler Mark Calloway, and the founder of Viome. His mother is on that, which is Naveen Jain, right?
So how would I use the small
Yeah.
the small guy? Is it, 'cause
Yeah,
like right now
that was the
I
300.
use
That's the 600. Same way, right? So if you had a small device like this, and that was like you could sit it on your desk, which is cool to kind of then have it
Right.
shining. If you're getting it in your eyes, right? The eyesight studies were showing 17% improvement in eyesight within the same 24-hour period with red light directly in the eyes. So you'd take out the blue, you could be away from it or closer. You could experiment different ways, but you look at the studies and do your own research on that. But take out the blue. But then what you would do is you'd move this around because it's got very comparable power still. Like that's like around 190 milliwatts per centimeter squared at 3 inches. So that's a really high powered unit still. And then you would put it over the regions in your body, and then that way you do that. And so what I also tell people, okay, now if you think about,
I want you to send me the little guy. I want the little guy.
You got it.
I
man.
want the
You
little
got it.
guy because I use the main device, but having the smaller one, I could also combine that for more focused areas. Because I mean, I've got the belt too, but
Yes,
you
you
know.
got it, man. You got it. And just so people know as well, Gary works super hard, right? So he does so much for me, guys. And so it's an honor to serve him and his family. And so then I'm just also getting it clear as well. When you're making a purchase, you're supporting our mission, our ability to get free information to the world. Natalia watched a free documentary series that we did. And I will mention as well, Parapurify, that product that she took. It was the Ultimate Detox Bundle at welloflife.com. And we maybe even could drop that in the description. And we'll give the same code, the NNN25 for 25% off. And the Ultimate Detox Bundle, the Gut Renewal Bundle, that's what she kept doing for like about 6 months. So, and so just know that the tools are important, and that's doctor formulated. I work together with different doctors and scientists to come up with those formulas. But back on the products and why stacking as well. Like there was 2 groups on red light. One was on red light and supplements for Hashimoto's thyroiditis, 350 people. The other group just had the supplements, it's selenium D3 and iron. The group that did red light with the supplements had 70 times better result at achieving thyroid hormone balance, producing T3, T4. So when you're doing any protocol, and I say this with parasites as well, you take a formula, but a lot of people still don't succeed, and that's why I'm seeing like there is a medical doctor that lives 2 doors down from me that is on, and I don't mind saying this, on a famous doctor's protocol for ivermectin, fenbendazole, but she is not winning, and she's not. Look, she's not doing well at all. I've walked down there many times with the red light panel and said, this is what you need, and that solution that I told you in the bottles, and then use this, and twice now it was brought back to my home. No, she doesn't want to use it now. But her husband would say, yeah, she's ready to use it. I'll bring it down. Anyway, I hate this, man.
Well, I don't understand. It's like, if you have, okay, sure, you can do one therapy. I don't see any problem with stacking or trying.
No.
And people that are hesitant, it's like, look, it works. And I just think that people need to kind of get over those roadblocks.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you have a serious condition that needs treatment, then what have you got to lose, really?
Yeah, exactly. It's so true, Gary. And look, it's a blessing, man. And these therapies are working. And so people know as well, like these are dual lights. You've got 9 different proven wavelengths from 480 up to 1060. That's the deepest part of red light. There's a reason why our devices are different to what you're seeing out there. There's a reason why they're so popular. And I'll be on Lex Friedman next week, and some other really major shows. So I want people to be aware as well that grab it while it's available, because we do and will sell out. I want people to grab it and get it while it is available. Right, so 9 different wavelengths, the highest tested irradiance. In this case, you got over 207 here, 203. That's the 600. This is the 300. But what people do when they're getting a larger device, you think about how much your time is worth to you, and then you do the math on that, like whether you're like, okay, my time is worth to me like $50 an hour, $100 an hour, $20 an hour, $10 an hour, whatever it is. But then you do the math over time on a daily basis, then you realize, okay, if I'm using something smaller, yes, it's good, and if that's what I can afford, get it, right? So for a few $100s, I had I've shared Dee Dee's story, like 9 out of 10 pain with a red light belt under $400. She reclaimed, because she went to a 0 out of 10 with back pain sciatica, reclaimed a $48,000 a year's salary. So, did that cost her, or did she just reclaim, $500,000 over the next 10 years and a quality of life and ability to live, right? But what people then should think about is getting over all their organs, getting in front of their family, and using a device then that makes sense, and then, putting in that money and looking at, okay, this is really only costing me like $100 a month for the next 12 months, or $50 a month for the next 2 years, or whatever, or so that's crazy, right? That's crazy. You normally can't do things like that, and so we're gonna spend money one way or another. So you either spend smart money or dumb money, and I just like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No,
Dumb money.
it's a no-brainer, and it's an investment in our body. It's an investment in our health.
Yeah,
Jonathan.
you got it, man.
Your support of this show keeps us going. Even when we're dealing with algorithmic suppression, and I just want to thank you, because we could not do Next News Network without your support, and that's the truth. And when you guys watching right now, you're supporting Jonathan, you're supporting this show, and you're supporting your health at the same time. Jonathan, I know you got to go.
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of conclude with this reality. We have people like Rogan and Mel Gibson talking about it. You're going on Lex Friedman. That's going to be an amazing show, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking forward to these things and looking forward to having you back.
Oh, thank you so much, man. It's an honor and it's a privilege. And just so you know, again, like when you see that on the screen, like that's what I'm talking about in the 9 wavelengths. So just remember, guys, you got the science behind it. Interface with these regions of the body. Interface, like cause programmed cell death in each of the regions of your body. Like don't miss something. You see what I mean? Go with something that's proven. Use device, like this is all the 9 wavelengths that we're using in our devices. Interface with that, and the studies on PEMF, I kind of mentioned it very briefly, but just looking at that, these PEMF groups are showing elimination or dramatic reduction of parasites, right? And if you watch a magnet bounce around, like when you put that on the mat, right? If you're ever using that, you need to make sure it's working, right? So that'll work on any of the devices. You'll see it bounce around. Dr. Daniel Newsom, who's been a family physician for my family, he's explained it that it's shaking the parasites to death, and that's pretty cool.
We just briefly touched on the PEMF, and I want people to go back into the library of our interviews, and if there's any questions, I mean, I've created a playlist of all of our interviews. And it is on the channel, so people can find it. They can just watch. They can binge watch all the interviews, because every single one there's another revelation. Especially when you go into the we talked about stacking. When you stack the PMF with the red light, add the methylene blue, everything. It's like it's a whole body healing kit, and I want people to make sure that they go back and look at the other videos we've done, because the wealth of information that you've shared, I know it's changing lives.
Wow.
It really is.
Thank you, Gary. And then, Brian, if you don't mind just quickly flashing that up so people can see what I was referencing there, even though we're just wrapping now. Do you see that? These were the studies showing that it was shaking these, basically just eliminating the parasite counts. And it's not the only mechanism, right? You're still driving stem cells within the bones, mesenchymal stem cells by both red light, pulsed electromagnetic field. You're replicating nature, what you're designed to get. So you made you hospitable to these other things, why you could then drive new healthy cells. So these are the mechanisms that we need. And like I mentioned before, I don't know if it was sharing on the screen before, but that was the mechanism there, which was showing that when you interface with these regions, with these wavelengths, then that's what you
That's just on X alone. Okay? Rogan said it. Gibson said it. This stuff works. But what they didn't tell you is why. A light-activated process that generates oxidative stress at the cellular level. The same mechanism showing tumor reduction in preclinical research. The same mechanism used to destroy parasites and pathogens. 7 out of 10 studies showing measurable tumor reduction in controlled models. And yet almost nobody is talking about the actual mechanism. Instead, we get sound bites and headlines and fragments, but not the full picture. Jonathan Otto just connected those dots for us. So if you want to explore this technology for yourself, go to myredlight.com and use code NNN30, okay? Or NNN25. You get bundles. You get each code is for a specific specific package, single items or bundles. So your health, though, it's your responsibility. And the truth is finally getting harder to hide. Comment below with your testimony below. I can't wait to read it.